There's a cheat code for city planning and it's called a PUD. It's a funny word, I'm gonna explain what it means, but I'm gonna explain how it's magic, showing one of the most interesting neighborhoods I've seen in a long time. Hey, John, the Happy Urbanist here for KUA. I wanna show you La France Walk. So first, let's talk about PUD, which stands for Plan Unit Development. I need to give you a scenario. Say you wanted to build these townhomes, but in a neighborhood where homes traditionally look like this. You might come up against some zoning rules or regulations that don't allow for that development. You would go through some sort of appeals process to get concessions to build your home. But what if you wanted to get really creative? Like build an agri-hood where in the middle of it there was gardens, or have businesses like coffee shops on the first floor with homes on the second floor in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Basically, you needed a lot of little zoning concessions. Then you might apply for a PUD. Okay, hold that thought. I'm gonna explain the downsides of this, but first, let's look at this neighborhood. The Edgewood neighborhood in Atlanta used to be rural. This used to be a 2.5 acre lot, a big chunk of land that you would think would be really valuable in this location, but it was almost undevelopable. That is to say, the cost to bring in utilities wouldn't pay for the amount of houses that the zoning would allow here. And this is where PUD worked its magic. Technically a private drive, it's lined with 19 different structures. I say structures and not homes, I'll explain why in a minute. And it's absolutely stunning. Even this kink in the road, which puts the landscaping and buildings on display before allowing you to see all the way down, kind of has this discovery mentality to it. The mailboxes also serve as a bike parking lot, service area, and there's this communal space that all the neighbors get to share. But it was designed, however, to have a diversity of housing choices. Almost every house, for as normal as it looks, has something like this, an ensuite attached to it. Think of it as a built-in guest house that you could turn into an artist studio or even rent it out to help offer more options within this community. And every house here has some version of it. The PUD can also let them avoid things like parking requirements, minimum lot sizes. And it's crazy to think of a development like this breaking the rules because everything about it is so beautiful and whimsical. The way the tree canopy and the buildings create sort of like a quiet solitude in the middle of the city, like you hear birds, I think it would convince some of the haters. As you get further in, you see even more housing choices, like these townhomes, 2 separate units that share a party wall and also have 2 distinct owners. And then at the end, you have duplexes, a home with a single deed or ownership and 2 separate units. But when these houses first started going up for sale, though a good investment for the developer, the townhome itself was one of the cheapest brand new units that you could buy within the city of Atlanta. They were very careful when they sort of advertised this neighborhood to let people know that there would be renters that lived here. You couldn't have multiple cars, but the results are great. But here's where the magic of the PUD becomes like a genie wishes magic. Like it is magic, but sometimes there's these side effects you don't anticipate. And that's this. If your city has a lot of requests for PUDs, it means that your zoning is not meeting the needs of the people of the city. Like if every developer and builder is trying to look for exceptions to the rule, perhaps the rules need to change. So yes, PUDs are magic, but they don't always work. PUDs are magic, but they shouldn't always be necessary. Shout out to KUA, who worked on this one, for pointing it out to me.